Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Welcome to Ages of Rock podcast. This is episode number 72, and this week we're doing underrated 80s albums. And we have a guest here from, he was one of the contributors to the Rockin' Pod. I don't know the exact terminology they use for that.
Expo.
Well, for the contributor part, I know it's an expo.
Oh.
But Sonny is the first person that contributed for the Ages of Rock Rockin' Pod Expo guest spot. I guess that's what we'll call it, the guest spot.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Sonny Pooni will be our guest host, and we're going to get to him in a minute or two or 10. But first, we have a few things that we want to bring up that's happened in the past week or that is going to happen in the near future. Bill, you want to go first?
Sure. This Saturday was National Record Store Day, and I don't know if Sonny, you buy any vinyl? Are you into vinyl at all? Are you still doing?
I am into vinyl. I actually
Cool.
love physical product. I wish it was called Physical Product Day.
Look at this.
You're the second person I've heard say that.
Physical bullshit. Mitch LaFon wants it to be Physical Product Day.
Yeah, our good buddy said the same thing.
Sorry, Mitch. I don't believe. I even posted on there. Disagree. But I physically bought this. Which, if you can, and you can. Oh, look, you can.
Oh, there it
see.
is.
It's got the
See?
hologram.
You don't get that on an MP3. Ever.
Well, let me ask you this: what'd you pay for that?
$25.
Well, that's what it was at Barnes and Noble.
That's
They had
almost-
it there, same deal.
But you
They
don't
had
get this either.
Hey,
And you don't get this anymore.
Hey, Bill, guess what else you don't get on an MP3? Dust.
I don't care. I tell you, it sounds a lot better. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I went to in Indianapolis. I live just south of Indy. And so we went to two record stores in Indy. One I'd never been in before, another one I'd been in, and then we tried to go to a third one, and all three places were packed. And the last place we went in, we couldn't even get in. It was like there was a line down the street, and
Really?
yes, I mean it's nuts, man. There were people everywhere, and I picked up some pretty cool stuff, and we had a great time. We were gone for a couple hours. Lisa actually went with me, and so I think she just goes so she can speed up the process by looking for stuff she thinks I'd like. And she goes, "You like this?" And I go, "No." She goes, "Okay, put it back." "Did you like this?"
Hey,
Yes, put that out. So
Let me ask you this: you say it was really crowded. What was the age range? Was there more younger people there, or was it more our age people there?
no, it was mostly 20-year-olds,
Really?
30-year-olds. Mostly.
They're just now discovering that. I mean, back when we were kids, that's what we had. You know,
But
I
they're
think
buying
now
it.
that's what I'm saying. Now that it's kind of this retro thing that they're trying to do this.
But they're not
you know.
buying retro stuff. They're
No,
buying.
but they're buying old stuff. That's good.
No. They're buying new stuff.
Oh,
They're
buying
buying
new
the new. Yeah, I mean, there was
I
a
got
lot of those people buying, newer stuff.
Right.
It was really cool though. I mean, we had a good time, and I got a poster. I should have brought the poster in because I got the free poster, but we didn't get to go to. There were two other places that we could have went to, but we didn't go. And but one place I want to go back to because we went in and I couldn't. They had like a used LP section and then a new LP section, and I couldn't figure out how they had it. Like I was too stupid to figure out how they had it organized.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't. Okay, it says there should be Tom Petty here, and there's no Tom Petty in that section. So where the hell's the Tom Petty stuff? And then I look over across the thing. It says Tom Petty. I go over there. Well, that's all brand new Tom Petty. No used Tom Petty. But it was just weird. So I need to go back there whenever I got some time. But it's a big store. It's really pretty big. And the line to pay was all the way looped through the store back around to almost the door.
Wow.
There were people sitting there waiting in line to pay 30 minutes for. I'm like, okay. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had fun. I had a great time. So
Lisa, did she have a good time?
yeah, I think so. I think she did.
I'll have to
She
ask
didn't
her
have to
next
go.
time.
I could have went by myself, but
I know.
Yeah. you have to ask her
That's
that.
cool.
So I did that Saturday, which was cool. And then Saturday night, was it Saturday night? We Alan and I bought some tickets to see the most powerful and attractive man in
No, it wasn't
Kiss.
Saturday night.
Gene Simmons. I'm Gene
Gene
Simmons. from Kiss.
It was Sunday night. No, it was Sunday night because I was trying to sleep and my phone was like going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, whatever, heathen. Anyway, so we got tickets to see Gene in Anderson, Indiana. It's a huge town of about 3,000 people. No, it's got a couple 10,000, probably 30,000 people there, and but he's playing at the
Horseshoe Casino.
Horseshoe Park
Racing.
Shit.
It's not Horseshoe, and it's not.
It's not Horseshoe.
It's the Horse Park Racing and Casino or something like that. Anyway, and we got some tickets for that, so I'm excited about going to that. That'll be cool.
Yeah,
I would go, but it's a Friday, and I got to play on Saturday night. And I can't get off work and drive up there, and I can't make it to Indy.
The show's at 9, dude. 9 o'clock. Like at night, not in the morning.
Right. Damn it! I wish I'd known that. I might have went then, but anyway.
Get yourself on Ticketmaster and buy some tickets.
We'll see.
All anyway, so that's what we're doing. I'm excited about that. It's gonna be cool. Can't wait.
Cool.
We had Tommy Paris on our show back in August of 2016, and I believe it was episode 36 or episode 38 or something. So if you haven't checked that episode out, check it out. But I just wanted to point out that Tommy's album that he spoke of has finally been released, and if anybody's interested, you can check out samples of that on TommyParis.com, and if you like it, buy it. Help support.
And he is now the singer of Brittany Fox. I know you didn't mention that, so if people are not familiar with his name, he is the singer of Brittany Fox now. So
I could have finished that if you would let me, Dennis.
Well,
it wouldn't be an episode of Ages of Rock if Dennis didn't finish my sentence.
Hey, this is what I do,
Let's see.
Sonny's like, what the hell did I do?
This past Saturday night, we've been talking up the Jason Lee McKinney Band's CD release show, which happened in Evansville, or the first of 3 CD release shows happened. And it happened in Evansville at Pistons Bar and Grill. And I got the CD, got my shirt. I actually helped him work his merch booth because my sound company, was doing the sound. Yeah, I stole it. Jason, don't shoot me.
You ran out.
No, but my sound company did sound for them, and I asked them if they had anybody to cover the booth, and they said they didn't, so I told them that I'd cover it for them.
How was the sales? Did he sell? Did he have some pretty good sales?
I was really impressed at how many people bought CDs. There was a lot more. There were a lot more CDs bought than there were T-shirts. But at the end of the night, it was a good night for them. The place was packed. They were on fire. The band was on fire, not the patrons. A couple of the patrons looked like they were lit, though.
It wasn't at a place called The Station, was it? It was a place called Pistons, right?
No. Don't even go there.
Oh, sorry. That was probably bad.
That was bad.
I went to hell for that.
No, but it was a really good show. They had a pretty good turnout, and considering everything that was going on in Evansville, I was really pleased with their turnout because we had the annual Guns and Hoses.
Oh, that was
the firefighters and the police department here have several boxing matches at the Ford Center, and it's a big fundraiser. I'm not sure what they raise money for. But there was also a Vince Gill concert going on.
Oh.
And there were...
Well, where was Vince at?
He was at Old National Events Plaza, I think.
Really? He wasn't at Ford Center? That's amazing. I thought that they would...
No, he's doing some small shows.
At Ford Center, Dennis.
I know that, but I'm saying I didn't realize that Vince Gill was playing a smaller venue like that. That's surprising.
I don't think Vince Gill could put seats in the Ford Center anyway. Just Vince.
I went to Robert Stadium.
I saw Vince Gill at Robert Stadium several years back, and the place was full.
What year was it? Because not in the last 10 years.
It was at least 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a long
but
time
anyway, there was a lot going on in town, so I was impressed that as many people showed up as they did.
Cool.
Cool. I don't think I have anything else.
Sonny had something he was.
Sonny had,
Yeah, so I went to a concert on Friday night. Richie Kotzen, first show of the tour. He played a small club in Agora Hills called the Canyon Club.
Now, where is Agora Hills?
Agora Hills is probably about an hour out of L.A.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
So, really, probably about 250, 300 people.
Those are the best shows, too. Those are intimate shows. Those are awesome.
Yeah, and it's not too crazy, right? It's a place where you can have dinner. It's kind of set up like you have dinner and then you see the three bands kind of thing.
Right.
Which is kind of nice because you got a chair if you want to sit. And, one of the opening bands was really good, Evolution Eden. The other one I won't mention because they weren't that good, and maybe you have them on your show someday.
See, now, Sonny knows how to do a podcast. Don't slam an artist.
See,
in case
we've
you
actually
want them on the show
alienated
later.
everybody that we know. We've alienated them.
No, Dennis has alienated everybody that we know.
Because I love so you want to be on our show?
Yeah. See, he
does watch the show. It's awesome. And he's still paid to be on here.
He'll be afterwards, after where he's done, he's like going, Sonny, do you want to come back on our show?
There you go.
So, anyway, Richie did probably 15, 16 songs. Sounded great. He's almost an introvert, kind of a weird, eclectic cat. He was actually dressed normal, like a rock star, which was surprising.
Right.
Sometimes he doesn't do that. And he was actually smiling. And I've probably seen him 6-7 times now, and I don't think I've ever seen him smile on stage.
Oh.
Did he happen to do any of the Poison songs that he's affiliated with?
No, he stays away from that stuff.
I kind of figured as much.
Yeah, he stays, and he didn't do any Winery Dogs either, because he's got so much solo stuff that. Oh, God, 20 albums probably, 25
Holy
maybe.
Shit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, you look up Richie Kotzen on Wikipedia, it goes on.
Yeah,
for
I was
days.
looking up some stuff here.
Yeah,
wow.
he's awesome. I got everything, and he's a lot like Prince, right? There's R&B, there's jazz, there's rock, there's metal, there's instrumentals.
That's why I was going to ask you what
all kinds of
his genre was, but he just kind of floats around on everything then.
Oh, yeah. So,
awesome.
Like the first two songs, he played guitar, because it's only a 3-piece. Then the next two songs, he played piano. Then he went back to guitar. Then he went back to piano.
He just threw up.
I thought he left.
He had to throw up.
I had to open the door. Otherwise, you're going to hear a dog pawing on the door and barking and whining. So
yeah, you don't ever take a phone call or anything on this show because you're going to get
Oh, yeah.
And my wife right now is in the Dominican Republic, and I even texted her earlier. I said, "Podcast is at 7, please." if she gets this, but I'll get probably a call here in a little bit. So if I go off to the side, it's like I said, she's on a mission trip right now in Dominican, so doing heart surgery. So we're waiting for a phone call here later.
So anyway, it was a great show, and at the end of the night, like I said, I love physical products, so I go buy the latest CD. It's called Salting Earth, and as I'm walking out, run into Jeff Scott Soto at the show.
Really?
Oh, wow!
I love
you
that
posted
guy.
the picture on Facebook, didn't you?
Yeah. That's when I ran into him at the show. So
that's
really
awesome.
Really cool night. I love.
So you live in LA?
I live actually in San Bernardino. I work in San Bernardino. I actually live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I'm kind of all over California.
Oh,
right now.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm coming to Anaheim in July.
Oh, okay. Just for a vacation, Disneyland, or?
I got a conference in Disneyland, well, across the street at the conference center.
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
gonna stay a few extra days, and I hear the Last in Line is going to be playing at the Whiskey A Go Go on that Friday night. So
that's where Bill's going to be.
Great place to see a show.
Might be.
Bill's going to be there. Awesome.
I'm going to do my best. See what happens. Hate to go all the way out there and not go. That would suck.
You got to go to Sunset Strip if nothing else.
Yeah, for sure. That's happening.
All
right.
But that was it for me.
That's cool though, man. That's wow. I mean, what a great night and a little extra bonus there, and it's kind of interesting because Jeff Scott Soto's coming up again later this evening.
Oh, okay. Now that will be very. Oh, okay. So now I can figure out what album it is because that's the only one.
I bet you're wrong.
All right.
We'll see what happens. Cool.
Okay.
Let's roll this baby.
All right. Well, this episode is called Underrated 80s Albums, and it was Sonny's idea since Sonny paid to be on the show. So take it away, Sonny.
All right, so I'm going to start with Y&T.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was listening to episode 9, and you guys were talking about the people that were left off that 50, the Rolling Stone 50 bands of hair metal, which terrible article. But so then
we call it Rolling Stone.
yeah, Rolling Stone. Sorry. So you guys start talking about Y&T, and of course, the first song that comes up is "Summertime Girls." I'm like,
absolutely,
oh my God, come on. But then somebody said "Mean Streak," and I thought there was hope. Right. But anyway, the album I just showed you was Black Tiger. So it didn't chart at all. Y&T's, their history's full of like near misses. They never made it big. I can't believe that more people know Pretty Boy Floyd and Faster Pussycat than they know Y&T. I can't wrap my head around that. Meneketi's unbelievable guitarist, definitely a blues-based sound. I'm sure you guys have kind of heard him. His vocal style, there's not a ton of range there, but if you try to sing along, it's surprisingly high. Yeah,
it's
high.
And it's a strong voice, too.
Yeah,
He's got a very strong voice.
Live, Y&T is unbelievable. So if you haven't seen him live, you definitely, nobody's breathing fire or shooting arrows. There's no Mr. Nugent bow and arrow stuff, but it's pretty much just straight rock. But it's like a cult-like type atmosphere because everybody knows every note, every word, every song. Must-have album, Black Tiger, came out in 82. I can't even give you a top 3 because on the album because I like it front to back. But I will tell you that if you're a hard rock fan, you want to try Open Fire, Black Tiger, or Forever. If you're a ballads fan, you want to try Winds of Change, which is the last song. And if you're a blues fan, kind of George Thorogood, there's Barroom Boogie and My Way or the Highway. So I know you guys had mentioned like Y&T doesn't really have a greatest hits unless you listen to the live album. This would be their greatest hits because they play a ton of songs off of this album still. So
cool, man. That's
Y&T,
awesome.
Black Tiger.
I actually saw them one summer in the 80s, and I probably 84. No. Probably 84, 85, probably. I saw them 3 times one summer open for 3 different bands. And I saw them one time on a Sunday and one time on a Thursday, 2 different shows. two different headliners. It's like they stopped and they went, I'm going to stay here, just hang out for a couple of days. I'll play it.
32 years later, they still play 70, 75 times a year. Like they're crazy.
And they were really good. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was exactly the same set list, but it was good. Because they were opening, so that's one of those bands we've talked about that before. That just I don't know how they just never got it.
The bridesmaid, never the bride.
They never broke. Great White was another one of those bands we talked about before that just never could get over the hump. Docket really couldn't get over the hump. I mean, they could get close, but nothing pushed them there. Yeah. Well, one of those bands, I think they couldn't. It was their own fault, but
and it was kind of weird. It's kind of weird with Y&T too because they tried. So this was more like hard rock, straight rock, kind of 70s into 80s. Then you get to like songs like Lipstick and Leather, which is later. It's a little more probably Lick It Up type. Then you get to Down for the Count and Contagious. It's more hair metal. Like they followed the trend. They just couldn't get it. I don't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I'll go next. So my first pick, and I don't have the album. I have it downloaded, so I will have to. I have the CD somewhere. I don't know.
So you're saying it's not going to get dust on it?
I didn't get my shit together either.
It is not going to have dust on it, but I am ready to discuss it, so we can do that. My first one, I can kind of probably show it to you here. It's you don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh, Metal Heart.
Set by Metal Heart. It's Metal Heart by Accept. Sorry, I got that all backwards. Which was the second album, right? So Balls to the Wall was really their first big album. This came out in 1985, and to me, this was by far much better than Balls to the Wall. I liked that song, but the rest of the album was just kind of stuff I didn't care for. This album, it's just like you were talking about, Sonny, beginning to end, in your face, just great rock the entire time. And it's one of those albums, underrated was, it barely broke the top 100. It only got to 94. And, and it's never been certified gold.
Wow.
And it's
I got a copy. I got a copy, so I did my part.
Yeah. Well, I had a cassette of it. I sure at one point. I know I did at one point, and I don't have it anymore. So, but it just a great rock record. And I wouldn't mind seeing those guys again. I mean, that was another band that I saw. My gosh, they opened for. I saw them probably 5 times open for different people.
Right.
Was crazy. But you get Udo out there. He's like 4 foot tall and just a freaking powerhouse. And
see, the thing is, though, they got a new guy now. He's from New Jersey, and he's just fantastic. He sounds like Udo, and a lot more energy. And their new stuff. I mean, check out their newest stuff is really good. I bought the last 2 albums that they put out, and it's fantastic. Still got they got that old sound yet. So it's really good.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Oh, all right. So my first pick was 1983, the first Fastway album. That, to me, we burnt that record up. And I mean, how can you go wrong? You got Fast Eddie Clark playing guitar, and then you had and Dave King too. He was a singer. He was a little redheaded dude, and now he plays for the. Damn it! I should have wrote that down. Come on, help me,
Sonny.
out.
Have you ever seen this happen before? Have you ever heard this happen before?
No, Flogging Molly.
Every week.
A week goes by. Oh, he sings in a Celtic kind of band called Flogging Molly. And I don't know if you've heard of that band. That's where Dave King is now. But there again, Bill, just like you were talking about Y&T, Fastway for about a 2-year period opened up in Evansville
35 times.
7 bands. I mean, and dude, every time they came out, they just rock balls. And that first album, I listened to it actually yesterday. I sat out in the garage and had it turned on, and there's not a bad song on that album. I mean, it's just bam, 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 bam. And like I said, with
bam.
Bam.
But they just recently put out a newer album. Fast Eddie Clark, he pulled some other people in, brought a new singer in, and the magic's gone. It just was one of those things where, in that second album they come out with All Fired Up, it had a couple of songs. It wasn't that first album. I mean, I think what happened was they just shot their load on that first album, and then they just had their sophomore album was just nothing. I mean, then they had that Trick or Treat. They had a hit on Trick or Treat movie.
I have that.
Yeah,
that's a great soundtrack.
But no, they had a good chemistry at first, and it was a good band. But there again, it was one of those always a bridesmaid, never a bride, and they never got any farther. But it's an album that you need to have and you need to listen to. It's just a forgotten '80s album to me. I don't forget it because I listen to it all the time.
Funny thing about the Fastway Trick or Treat album, when I had back in the MySpace days, when I had my Harris of the 80s internet radio station on Live 365, I had mentioned to one of the listeners that was a Fastway album that I didn't have, that I couldn't find, and it showed up in my mailbox like a week later.
Really?
Wow, that's cool.
That's cool.
I thought that was very cool.
Oh, I
usually
wore
when you mention people on the show, they show up on your doorstep with a gun. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right, Alan, what you got?
My first pick is DAD's No Fuel Left for the Pilgrims.
I knew you were going to say that.
I knew I was going to say that. I've brought this album up several times. I'm a creature of habit, and you can play poker with me and know the cards. No, but seriously, this is a band that they came to America a few times, and the No Fuel is not their debut album, but it is I think it was their debut in America. They had a couple of minor hits with Sleeping My Day Away and Rim of Hell. And if you listen to the whole album, the music is really good music. You can tell that the guitar player has some sort of old country influence and, got the blues background. And, this kind of goes back to, I can't believe more people know Pretty Boy Floyd and Faster Pussycat than they do DAD. One of my favorite things about DAD is those guys are Danish, and they have a better grasp on American humor than a lot of Americans that I know.
And they taste good.
No, 3 of them. couple.
They're Danish.
They're Danish. Yes, you're so funny, Dennis.
Are they cream cheese Danish or just regular Danish?
They're apple Danish.
Mister, he's like the king on the internet of his stupid, weird things. Anyway, go.
Alan and his bad puns.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Pun.
That was my first pick.
All right,
Sonny, back
All
to you.
right. So, second pick, Soraya, self-entitled. There's one that most people probably do not own. Came out in '89. Lead singer Sandy Soraya. They're from New Jersey. You might have heard the song "Love Has Taken Its Toll."
Right.
Remember that
Probably.
song? It was kind of like an AOR, kind of a Journey-esque type.
Yeah.
It was actually a hit. I think it peaked at like top 70, somewhere in there.
I think Dennis is writing that down. Is it on Spotify?
Well, you need to look up Sandy Soraya because she still looks good. So you need to look that up.
Write that down.
So I saw when I was kind of looking at just researching a little bit, I got a quote from her and I wanted to read it to you. It was the kiss of death when they called me the female John Bon Jovi. Then they said they were going to market me as a hard rocker version of Pat Benatar. The record company cared less about the music and more about the visuals.
Right.
And it's a great album, but man, it had no chance. And her vocals, this is kind of a funny story. I used to love Lita Ford. I'm not exactly sure why, because I just saw her a couple of years ago on the Monsters of Rock, and I'm like, that music is not good. So it must have been the look, right? With Sandy, it's her vocal, and her voice is kind of, if you've not heard it, it's between like Melissa Etheridge and Ann Wilson, pretty unique, right?
Right.
The guitar player, Tony Bruno Ray, the guy from Danger Danger, he's kind of the musical driving force. They were on another great movie soundtrack, Shocker. Remember that movie?
Right. I have that movie
soundtrack
on DVD.
Yeah, The Timeless Love was on that album.
Yeah.
But the top three songs on this one, if you just want to give it a shot on Spotify or whatever, you want to try One Night Away, Running Out of Time, or Love Has Taken Its Toll. But really cool band.
I worked in a record store when that came out, and we got a promo copy of that, and I got in trouble for playing that because we were actually only supposed to play jazz because the guy that owned it was an older guy, and he wanted people to play jazz. So he didn't want a bunch of loud rock music playing when people came in the store, because he was trying to, the clientele he was trying to get at and get in the store. And we got a promo copy. So it was like 8:00 one night. I was by myself. There was nobody else in the store. And he comes walking in. I'm like, dude, really? He just like never comes in the store. I got that shit cranked up. And I really did and I had the album for years. And then, back, I don't know, 10 years ago, I got rid of all my LPs except for my Kiss LPs because, everything was on CD. And then that was when, MP3s were coming out, and there's like, I'm not going to ever listen to this crap again on an LP.
And then Bill's every weekend going into a record store going, we're going to get these.
Well, the Fastway, see, I carried that record around a store in Indianapolis about a month ago for about an hour, and I put it back. And I remember telling you about that, Dennis. You going,
and you said you should have bought it, and I had to pay you for it because I want a copy of that on vinyl.
Yeah.
And these guys have a Kiss connection. Ever heard the name Jeff Glicksman?
Yep.
That's the guy who produced Paul Stanley's solo album. Same producer.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's what I got for you. Soraya, 89.
Awesome, man. Good pick. All right. So I'm going to, that's very ironic because I'm going to stick with a chick lead singer too.
All right.
Believe it or not.
Debbie
So,
Gibson.
Watch you pick Lita Ford or after I just...
I'm not picking Lita Ford. But her name is Denise McCain, and the band is called the Headpins. And I don't know if you know them, but look them up from 1983. It's a band that the album went multi-platinum, but that never really went anywhere. It's kind of amazing. It went to 114 on the Billboard charts, but the album is called Line of Fire. And if you look, that is a really good record, front to back. And I was going to pull it up here because there were a couple songs on here I wanted to make sure I mentioned.
Is it hard rock or is it?
Yeah. Feel My Body is a song that's really good. it's got synths in it and stuff like that because it's in the '80s, and that's kind of a lot of them do. But this whole thing, I really like a lot of this stuff.
Right.
It's and this is another one. I had this record from when I worked at the store, and I don't have it anymore. And and I actually found a different album of theirs in a bin, and it was $15, which used records are typically about $5. So that was a pretty rare find. Yeah. So I didn't buy it because it wasn't if it was Line of Fire, I think I'd have bought it because it's a really good record. One of those ones that those are a couple of these. When we did this, there were a couple of records that just popped right in my head immediately that I had no problem.
I'm the same way.
Coming up with, and there's other ones I struggled. So I'm not gonna lie, but that's it for me. That's a really good record. I was trying to see if there's anything else.
I'll have to check that out on see if it's on Spotify.
I've already said Spotify, Dennis.
I know. I'm just gonna say it again.
Yeah, and they were a Canadian band too. They weren't from the States, so they were Canadian. There you go.
All right.
Always an opener, double platinum album seller, and we were reading on Wiki if you can believe it, because it's on the internet, so it's not true. But never headlined. Headlined very very few shows. So, some club stuff, but that's about it. So.
All right. So my second album, and Sonny's going to be familiar with this one. I just found that out because I listened to you on Decibel Geeks the other night. Because I was curious to hear what your voice sounded like and everything. But this whenever, like I said, whenever you said something about underrated '80s albums, this was the first album that came to mind, and it's Lord Tracy's "Death Gods of Babylon."
Oh yeah, baby,
dude, we listened to that. We burnt that thing up when we were in the
all
80s.
Your records up, Dennis.
This was actually a CD though. It was in '89, and I tell you what, and I was listening to your description on that other podcast, and I was like going, it's perfect. I mean, they are just completely left to center, and but like you said, you got King of the Nighttime Cowboys, you got East Coast Rose, Piranha. It goes from it just goes to all these songs, but I don't know, it's hard to describe them. They're just really kind of a really like Van Halen on crack. I mean, they're like, because you don't have Van Halen.
That's called Eddie Van Halen solo tour.
That was Van Halen in the '90s.
Eddie, do you want to be on our show?
But no, they are, and it's one of those things where I went actually on Spotify. They don't have that album on there. They've got some live stuff, which they play all those songs from that album. But that album is just it's interesting. It was one of those ones where I can't. I know what it was. Rodney's ex-wife's brother got religion real fast and threw all of his stuff in a dumpster at where his wife worked. CDs, albums, everything. I mean, threw like 400. So she just grabbed as many as she could out of the dumpster and put them in a bag. So we get home and we're like going, Lord, Tracy, Lord Tracy. That's like late Tracy Lord. Let's listen to this. And dude, it became one of our favorite CDs for a couple of years there. I mean, it's one of those ones I always kind of go back and listen to every once in a while and get a smile on my face when I listen to it. So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, and Terry the singer would love to hear that you got that CD out of the dumpster, because that's exactly his kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Like that's how crazy they are.
But no, it was
a long time ago and never threw my shit away.
he had a lot of
Probably
issues.
Shouldn't have said it that way either.
Have you guys, either you two, heard Bill or Alan? Have you heard of Lord Tracy? Or
I've not heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I've not listened to it. I've not.
They had what?
I'm writing this stuff down so I can go back and look at this stuff.
They had one video. Was it the King of the Nighttime Cowboy? Did they have that video?
Might be Out with the Boys or East Coast Rose.
Oh, Out with the Boys. That was it.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. You're right. And but they were
we
just
have somebody on the show that's knowledgeable.
Yeah. No shit.
They opened for Ace. How'd you guys miss them? 1990.
I didn't see Ace on his 90s.
The first time I got to see Ace was in 1993.
Oh, wow.
And it was at the Chief Theater in Pueblo, Colorado. I was expecting this big grand production. It's a fucking dumpy theater turned into a bar. I was like, this is depressing. And I took a guy with me, and I'm like, man, you're probably not going to know any of these songs. And he played like one song off of Fraley's Comet, and the rest of it was Kiss songs. Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
So anyway,
I never saw Ace either. So
yeah.
Wow.
I've seen Ace twice.
Yeah. I've seen him with Kiss, and that's it. But anyway, Lord Tracy, that was my second pick. So, Alan?
You guys know me so well. What's one of my other picks going to be?
I don't know. I'm not going to think that hard.
I don't know.
In the 80s, gosh, I don't know.
Poison?
Oh, you're not going to pick the Go-Go's, are you? Because I know that you're a big Go-Go's fan.
No. The Go-Go's didn't make the list. No female bands made my list.
Wham! The Wham CD.
The Wham.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
No, that's good.
All right. My second pick is The Final Frontier from Keel.
Keel. Ron Keel.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
We should have known that.
Yeah, we should have known that.
Well, when you hear my third one, you're going to say the same thing. But this one was released in April of 1986. And its big hit was Because the Night, which was written by Bruce Springsteen and Patti Smythe. And that song's been covered. I know Keel covered it. Was it 10,000 Maniacs that covered it, or was it Natalie Merchant solo?
I don't know.
I think it was 10,000 Maniacs.
I think it was 10,000 Maniacs.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But that was the...
Somebody will tell us.
Yeah, somebody will tell us. But, that one, I never heard any Keel ever get played on the radio when I was a teenager. And a friend of mine introduced me to that album, and really that's the only Keel album that I like. Everybody else seems to like The Right to Rock. But that one, it didn't give me the right to rock, or didn't make me even feel like wanting to rock. Ron, would you like to come on the show?
We should get Ron on the show.
I smoked a cigarette with Ron Keel.
Yeah.
At your Expo.
You should send him a message. He knows you. He'll get on the show.
Hey, Ron, remember me?
Dude. Yeah. Tell him your story about Bob Kulick in the airport, and he'll let you on the show.
You remember this story, Ron? That was so funny.
Anyway.
But anyway.
You have to tell that later off the air to Sonny. He'll like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Guest musicians on the
back
final.
to you, man.
Yeah. Well, let me finish this up real quick.
Oh, sorry.
The band members for this album were Ron Keel, Mark Ferrari, Brian J., Kenny Chasen, and Dwayne Miller. Guest musicians, Michael Desbars. He did vocals on Raised to Rock. Joan Jett plays rhythm guitar on Raised on Rock, not Raised to Rock. Jamie St. James backing vocals on Rock and Roll Animal. Greg Giuffria backing vocals on No Pain, No Gain. Mitch Perry rhythm guitar on Tears of Fire. And this album was produced by Gene Simmons from Kiss.
Oh, well, imagine that. A powerful and attractive man.
And that's all I've got to say about that.
There you go.
All right, what you got next, Sonny?
All right, my third album, Whitesnake, Slide It In.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
That's not underrated, man.
Well, it is. Because all everybody talks about
I'm just teasing you.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it enough. That's a great album.
Yeah, I bought it in '84. My first album purchase with my own money. Went to the record store, bought 4 albums that day, and that was one of them. Released by Geffen Records. It sold 4 million copies. But nobody ever talks about the album because it's stupid Here I Go Again on the next album. Like that.
Exactly.
In my opinion, if it wasn't for John Sykes, like Whitesnake wouldn't even exist. So all the songs you hear on '87 is John Sykes. All the songs you hear on this album is John Sykes. There's 2 versions of this album. There's a UK version where Mickey Moody does all the guitars. It's a terrible version. Mickey, you want to be on our show? No,
is that the one that's a whole lot bluesier?
Yeah. And it's just slower. But John just brings a whole new rock to it. Now, there's some raunchy titles. Don't let that scare you. For those that are listening that have never heard this album, like Spit It Out, Slide It In. They're actually pretty catchy tunes. It's not Steel awesome. Panther.
That album was awesome.
Hey, Sonny, there's nothing like taking your 15-year-old to see Whitesnake, and he's standing there screaming at the top of his lungs, "Slide it in, straight to." I'm like, oh crap, your mom's not here. Awesome.
These guys are still out there touring right now. The two guitar players are Reb Beach and Joel Hoekstra. Now that's a two.
I saw them last summer. Great
they're
show.
Awesome.
Phenomenal.
And you saw the Purple show? Is that what you saw?
Oh, it must have been 2 summers ago.
Okay. Well, the Purple show might have been 2 summers ago. I might be wrong. But still, tons of energy in the room. Another album, I just put it on. I don't skip a single song. Now, if you've only heard Slide It In ever, and you might have heard Love Ain't No Stranger, I guess, on the radio, the 3 that don't ever get played are All or Nothing, Standing in the Shadow, and Guilty of Love. Like, if you haven't heard those 3,
now,
those are
awesome.
I know I've heard Standing in the Shadows and Guilty of Love.
Yeah.
I've probably heard the other one as well.
Now, that album's a fantastic album.
Do you know, Sonny, did it sell 4 million albums after Whitesnake? I mean, after the next album?
Yeah, so it peaked at number 40, but I think it peaked at 40. It lasted on Billboard for just a smidgen of time. 87 comes out, and then people are looking backwards,
and it
right?
comes back, and it gets back
and
on.
then it comes back, yeah. But then, Here I Go Again, Tawny Kitane's all over MTV, and it's over. Yeah.
Exactly.
Really. I watched that video the other day. They've had Metal Mayhem's been on.
I've been watching that too.
All weekend on MTV, and I was like, they're playing actual videos, and there's some good stuff on there. And man, I wonder. And she looks a lot.
I watched that Lita Ford. Actually, I turned on yesterday. The Lita Ford one was on where she was. I can't even think of the name of the song. Oh, I see. Gotta Let Go. Where the couple's in there, and the robbers come in. All of a sudden, she's like, got that leather on with the big old camel toe going on. See, that's what it was. It was a camel toe that got you, Sammy. That's why you bought that album.
Yeah, that's probably it. But Whitesnake, Slide It In, 84. Awesome.
That's good job, man. That's good. All right, I am going with 1982. A little band you might have heard of called Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Straight Between the Eyes.
Right.
This was, I think, the first Joe Lynn Turner album, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I don't think I am. Richie Blackmore, obviously. Stone Cold was the big hit off there.
Oh, that's a great song.
That's definitely Joe Lynn Turner then. I love Joe Lynn Turner.
Yeah, it was definitely Joe Lynn Turner. I just can't remember if this was the first album or if he was on the one before that, but I think this was his first one. And then the Death Alley Driver, which is the leading, the very first song on there. And we were talking about this the other day. Somebody were talking about an album, and the first song was just bad. And it's like, for me, I got to have a first song.
You and I had this conversation.
Yeah. It's got to be going. Otherwise, I'm turning that shit off. It's got to be I don't have time. And then that song, and then Miss Mistreated was another single I think that came off that too. Great album, front to back, freaking awesome album cover. One of those visuals, guitar coming out of this guy's forehead with his eyes bugging out. It's just badass. So great album, and that's one of those ones that I had the cassette for at one time, and when I sold all my cassettes, they're gone. So the good thing, the good or bad thing, my wife's in the next room so she can hear me, but she'll think it's probably the bad thing is I start adding these things to my list of records to go find. And she's like, great, another trip. Great. But that's a great album. And actually Richie Blackmore is somebody that I have another album of his. It's from I thought it was actually in the 80s album, and it wasn't. It's from 95. And that was an album that I really, really like it. But it was the Richie Blackmore that in the 90s kind of became this kind of odd, eclectic. Everything became like a big production. And but that album is really good. It's just not a typical rock album. It's just different. So, but I like all different sorts of music, so it just depends on the mood. But I pulled it out the other day and I laid it out so I can actually listen to it sometime because I haven't listened for a long time. So that's it. That's my number 3.
All right. My number 3 is one that probably none of you have heard of. It's called a band called Wrathchild America, and the album is called Climbing the Walls. When I saw those guys, they were a band out of West Virginia, and they used to travel the circuit. And when Funky's 2 was down here in Evansville, they were one of the bands that came through here quite often, and they were called Wrathchild at that time. And they were the first kind of, I wouldn't call them speed metal, but they were kind of metallic-y, kind of Megadeth-y kind of first thing I ever seen with the guys were doing the windmills and shit. Even the drummer would do the windmill when he was drumming. It was the craziest shit I ever seen. But their songs are really cool. But anyway, they got picked up by Atlantic Records, and at the time when the record came out, there was another band out of England called Wrathchild. So there was a lawsuit pending, so they just said, look, just call us Wrathchild America at that point. But this album is on Spotify. I was surprised. I've got the CD. It's downstairs, and but it's kind of a I don't want to say it's Metallic-ish or Megadeth-ish. It's just kind of different.
You just said it was Metallica-ish or Megadeth-ish.
It was that was my introduction to that kind of. It's not speed metal. I wouldn't call it speed metal.
Well, that's called thrash anyway.
Power, thrash. It was a thrash band. It's what actually, if you look at Wikipedia, they call them a thrash band.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I call it garbage.
But they do. Actually, I think you would like it. They got one song called "No Deposit, No Return." Their guitar player was fantastic, and that album has a rendition of Pink Floyd's "Time," a chunked up version of it, and it's really, really, really good.
That sounds like,
but it's one of those albums that
Bill would chunk up if he listens to it.
Yeah, probably. but Sonny had mentioned underrated or not even heard of albums. This is one that nobody has ever heard of. So it's one of those ones that, man, you get an opportunity, check it out. They actually have go on YouTube. They have a video for Climbing the Walls, which was the name of this album, and you see the windmills. They're doing it's cool shit. But this is the first time Rod and I remember we were down there at Funky's. We're about half shit face going, wow, look at their fucking hair. It's like, what the hell are they doing? They're all doing this shit. I've never seen that before.
I would be impressed to see the drummer do that while he was playing.
He did it, man. It was the craziest shit. I mean, they were they were really fun. And like I said, they came to Evansville probably, I don't know, we probably seen them 8 or 10 times at Funky's. And because they were on that circuit, and, but no, good band. Anyway, that was my pick. Alan?
All right. My next piece. This ain't water, y'all. My next.
You never know if you're getting white Allen or or what.
Yeah. Taco Bell Allen may show up. You just never know.
Oh, no. I've seen Taco Bell Allen.
We've seen Taco Bell Allen. Hey, it's not happening. That was ugly.
That was something else. Anyway, my next pick is Alice Cooper's supposed to be comeback album, but it really wasn't. Constrictor came out September 22nd, 1986. Features heavy metal guitarist Kane Roberts and bassist turned lead singer Kip Winger.
Yeah.
The claim to fame for this album was the last song on the album, He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask, was the theme song for one of the Jason movies. I don't know which number it was, but with the release of this album came the Nightmare Returns tour. So that even though the album didn't do well, the album release gave him a reason to go on tour and got him back in the public eye. And it took him, he did Raise Your Fist and Yell the following year, which also didn't do very well. But then he followed up in 1989 with Trash, which, with the help of Desmond Child and who was the producer? God damn it. Oh, wait, that's Dennis. But with the help of Desmond Child writing a bunch of the music, came out with the Trash album, which featured the smash hit too. Poison. Did Desmond Child produce it?
Yeah, he produced it too.
Yeah.
There you go.
But, this was, I think what I like best about Constrictor is it was written to market to the hair metal kids in the mid 80s, so it's got some synth in there. And of course, you've got Kane Roberts with the guitar licks. And so you're going to have that. And this album from beginning to end it's in my top 5 Alice Cooper albums.
Cool.
All right.
I was looking up to see if our buddy Eric Singer was on that album.
He is not.
No, it's not.
That was before.
He was on, I think, the first tour he did, and I may be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, But I think the first tour that Eric Singer did with Alice Cooper was the Trash Tour. So that was my exposure to Alice Cooper or Eric Singer because I saw them when I was stationed in Germany on the Trash Tour. Alice Cooper trashes Europe.
Cool.
All right. Sonny.
All right. My next pick, Bullet Boys.
Oh, that's a great album.
Self-titled, baby, 1988.
That's a great album.
That is the only Bullet Boys album I own.
And they have 10 of them. So the band has 10 studio albums, 50 members, 5-1. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Produced by Ted Templeman, right? This guy, Mark Torian, was supposed to be the next David Lee Roth, right? They were supposed to be the guys.
Right.
I love this album. The two songs that was all over MTV, For the Love of Money, right, which is the OJs.
Yeah.
And then if you remember, Smooth Up in You, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. These guys, I don't know why this album didn't take off as well. It peaked at number 34, but it just didn't stay, and I don't know why. There's no ballads. It's just straight ahead rock.
Right.
And Mark,
I think that was probably a hindrance for them because that was at a time, when
the
put out an
ballads
album,
were coming out,
you better have a ball rocker and a girl panty dropper.
Yeah.
And
I guess
also, he looked a lot like David Lee Roth, and I think that may have turned some people off.
Really? I thought that might have helped.
He didn't look like David Lee Roth. The hell? I just
he
seen the
just
guy.
like him. Got the long hair. He dyed it blonde. He didn't wear a shirt. He kicked around doing the gymnastics. It was like
it was
Dave.
similar. It was similar. Yeah. My thing was
that video.
If
he had a great voice, though. That's a great album.
Oh yeah. If they come 84, 85, I think it's a different story.
Right.
Yeah.
When did that come out?
88.
They came late to the party, and that's just too late. And like you said, they didn't have the ballad like everybody was doing at that point. Like you said, I think that was a timing issue. At a different time would have been a different result.
I saw Bullet Boys. It was Bullet Boys, Slaughter, and Poison doing a triple tour. I saw them in Denver, Colorado at Red Rocks.
Right.
And
I think I saw that same tour in
they did.
the Bay Area. Yeah.
Bullet Boys brought their A game. They rocked it. They rocked balls.
Yeah.
So funny story,
comparable
to Bill's. So my best friend and I worked at the same retail store. We worked in the electronics department, right? So we were like the self-appointed DJs while the store was closed. We were stocking stuff, right? So we're spinning this music. We're spinning the CD over the intercom. We used to play it a lot, but we always skipped Hell on My Heels because the song starts with 1, 2, F-U, right?
Right.
So, we're on the intercom. Stupid me came late to the party that day because they played on the intercom as the store opened to Senior Citizens Day.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. I did not get fired that day. I actually ended up working another 11 years with that company. Unbelievable.
There you go.
But loved it ever since. Besides the two that everybody hears, if you haven't given it a chance yet, my favorite songs on it are actually Hard as a Rock, Shoot the Preacher Down, and Crank Me Up. Those are probably the three rockinest songs on the album. So Bullet Boys 88.
Good.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
All right. So mine, my number, we're at 4, right? Yeah, 4.
Correct.
So my fourth one is a band from the Netherlands, 1989, and they suffered from the 1989, which was right where we started. Things were going south for the metal scene, but it's a band called Sleazebees.
Oh yeah.
And they had a song out called Stranger Than Paradise. Had some sense in it, but
yeah, I like a Stranger in Paradise.
There you go. Yep.
I just heard that the other day.
Yeah. Yep, great album. One of those that when I was kind of scrolling through stuff, and because I still have that song, I was like, oh, I remember that album. I had that cassette, and I was like, so I went back and I pulled it up and I listened to it. I'm like, that's a really good record. So there's some really good stuff on here. House is on Fire is a really good song. The lead track or the title track is Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed. That's a pretty cool song. Definitely a rock song. I mean, really
good title.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah,
that one gets played on Hair Nation a lot.
Yeah.
And the the track number 9, which is when the brains go to the balls. It's a pretty good song. And if the song's not good, who cares? That's a pretty damn cool title.
That's a funny title, yeah.
That's cool.
We'll take that. But it's a really good album. They've got a couple other things out too, but that was one that was a pretty good pick for me. Another one of those ones that came out when I was working in the store and snagged it. Because the cool thing about working in a record store back then, and I don't know if it's that way anymore, but because there's not really the same type of record store, but we would get leads on records ahead of time. We get a sheet and we'd order off the sheet. We'd know 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time what was getting released, and at the bottom they would always have on these sheets, they'd have like new artists, and you could pick like 3 new artists, and they would send you promo copies of it.
Right.
So if Mr. Moore or Sharon didn't want to pick a title off there, they go, I'll pick something off their bill, and I'd pick off stuff that I thought, I don't know this band, but they look cool, I'll check, and then they come in and I'd get the stuff out of it. So it worked out pretty well. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was neat. I missed that so bad. I really do. I used to read Billboard from front to back every week. It was cool. It was an interesting. Cool. All right, that's it for me. Number 3 or 4.
Number 4. All right, number 4 for me. I'm gonna go to early '80s, actually 1980, with 707's Megaforce. I am a huge 707 fan, and I can remember, whenever I hear I Could Be Good For You, I always think about roller skating, in high school, because we was at the roller skate rink. So that was in the 70s there. But in 1980, when Megaforce came out, they got a new singer, keyboard player, Todd Howard. Now that name is familiar because he later played in Fraley's Comets and now 4 by Faith.
Fraley only had one comet, Dennis.
What? Fraley's Comet? What? Whatever. What? Fuck you.
Wow, he's on a roll and just slams him down.
Just fucking. Yeah. Anyway, Megaforce is is actually a great album. I love Todd's voice. I think he had a lot of also writing credits in that band at that point. There's a Hell or High Water is another song off that album that's really good. The whole album is just front to back is really good. And the funny thing was, at the end of the one that's on Spotify, there is a live version of Megaforce, and at the end they say, "Thank you, St. Louis." Rodney, and this was in 1983. Rodney saw them in 1983 in St. Louis at the something jam festival, whatever, and he thinks that was the actual song that is actually kind of cool. But he said even at that point they were really cool. 707 is one of those bands that never really made it huge. They had a few hits, but I love those guys. But it's an early 80s band. It's kind of heavy synth, so you're not getting that. But the guitar player was really good in there too. I don't know at that point who was playing guitar, because the band made a changeover when Todd came in. There was a lot of changeover at that point, but great album. I seen Sammy give a thumbs up. You a 707 fan too?
I'm a Todd fan, right? So the first two Fraley Comets albums,
right?
Fraley's Comet albums.
There you go.
Catch myself.
When you jump up on a mound.
Yeah. Todd songs are my favorite. Although Ace is my favorite Kiss member, but Todd's songs were my favorite on those two albums.
I follow you there, Sonny.
Right. The thing that really pissed me off was the fact of whenever Fraley's Comet, when they came out, they redid Megaforce into Calling to You and really fucked it up. I do not like Ace's version of that song, knowing the 707 version of it.
Yeah, I heard
much better song.
Yeah, I heard the 707 after, and I'm like, okay. Oh yeah, that was much better.
Well, see, I knew that song, so whenever I first heard it on the Comets album, I'm like going, "Oh, this is going to be great," and I'm like going,
"The words are
different.
Changed
the lyrics. You changed the lyrics. It sucks now." But anyway, 707, 1980, Megaforce. Get a chance to listen to that. Check it out. A lot of great songs on there.
That's cool.
Right, cool.
Alan.
A little side trivia about Todd Howarth. He was a keyboard player on at least one Cheap Trick tour
Yep,
But
he was
may
on.
have done some more, but of course he was
Quite a
off
few,
side stage. But anyway, my next album is 1983's Flick of the Switch by AC/DC. You know what's awesome about this album?
I don't know. What?
The cover?
No Mutt Lange. Or Lang, however you pronounce it. Mutt
Lang.
Lange did not produce this album. AC/DC produced it themselves. And even though it is the same album for the third time in the row, you know, it's a more raw album because Mutt wasn't there to make every note perfect or whatever like he does with all of his acts. But there were some pretty good songs on there. Flick of the Switch, Nervous Breakdown, Guns for Hire, Deep in the Hole. You know, it was one that this one and the following AC/DC album didn't get as much attention as I think they should have. And I think, you know, like everybody says, AC/DC just keeps putting the same album out over and over again.
See, AC/DC, when Fly on the Wall came out, I was done. That was the last
Fly
one
on
I
the Wall.
bought, and I was done. I was done.
I believe Fly on the Wall was their next. Yeah, that one came out in '85.
Yeah, that was my last album I bought from them. It was done. Like you said, it was the same shit over and over and over. Yeah. So
I actually bought Rock or Bust.
I didn't.
Which is the latest thing they have. That's the last one they had.
That's the one with War Machine and Rock and Roll Train, isn't it? Or that was Black Ice. That was Black Ice.
No, that's Black Ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's got Play Ball on it. It's a good album. Good song.
That's cool. All right.
Number 5.
Last pick. The best first album by a band
pull it
ever.
back some. We can't see it very well.
Mr. Big.
Oh, yeah. That's an awesome album. Awesome.
And the reason it's underrated to me is because of To Be With You and Just Take My Heart being their best or most popular songs. Those were on the following album. So this album really didn't sell that well. Yeah, he left. He hates this album so much.
He doesn't.
He's getting his
That's
copy.
a record.
You can't tell
me. Dennis, you want to be on our show?
I'll listen back and go, them son of a bitches. No, I thought about something real quick. I had to.
But anyway, the super group, right? Eric Martin, Billy Sheehan, Paul Gilbert, Pat Torpey. They only had one single, Addicted to That Rush. There's 3 ballads on this album and only one single. Unbelievable. And I'm not exactly sure why this album didn't take off. I know why the next album took off, thanks to Extreme's More Than Words Going Crazy, that the 2 songs off the next album, slow songs, went crazy.
Yeah.
But Eric Martin's voice is really cool. I'm a Bay Area guy, so I love Eric Martin, but his voice is it's kind of bluesy, unique. It's got that rock feel to it. These guys are great live. They just are starting up a tour, which is really cool. Just like Kiss and Dokken, this is one of those bands that they go to Japan, they can sell out any arena they want. Here, they got to play like bars.
I love that album. I've got that on CD. I played it a lot.
I play it constantly.
Yeah.
Some of those bands like them and, a couple other ones, they just need to go out on a tour together and just call it We're Bigger Than a Bar tour.
Exactly.
We had Other Songs tour.
Yeah.
Because the ballad on this song,
ballads tour.
Yeah, Anything for You, which is on this album, is actually, I think, better than To Be With You or Just Take My Heart.
Right.
And it got no airplay. So, Mr. Big, first album, 1989. It's awesome.
Awesome.
That might have been a time thing, right? 1989
it maybe was. It may be there again timing.
That changeover. I don't know. It must have been it. I don't know.
It wasn't lack of talent. That was the whole thing.
No,
that's not lack of talent.
No, that band was stacked with it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, my last one is we had a Gene Simmons theme here tonight, fellas. I don't know if you know this or not, but Gene Simmons has been mentioned 4 times tonight.
All right.
Not that I'm keeping track.
And you're not going to bring up asshole. No, that was
So I think the most underrated album is Gene Simmons' solo. No, I'm just kidding.
The Elder.
That's not even an album, is it?
I actually was going to bring that
piece
up.
Of crap
just to piss you off.
I was going to do it too, Dennis.
I'm gonna take that album. I'm gonna take that album and meld it. I'm gonna melt it down and then turn it into like some kind of a medallion for you, Dennis. You can have it where it'll be like an Odyssey pen or some kind of shit like that makes no sense at all.
Love it.
We'll turn it into a door knocker. How's that?
There you go.
So, quick story about the Elder. So, I've been listening to all these podcasts, and especially the Kiss podcast. Man, some of these guys really love the Elder, right? So I'm like, all right, it's been a while since I've heard the Elder. It's been years. Maybe I need to give it another shot. So I throw it on my iPhone, play it in the car.
Don't
it still
do it.
Sucks.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hey,
Dennis.
Dennis,
Go get something. Don't you have to go get something?
It's not a Kiss album. It's just it's interesting. There's a couple of there's a couple of really shitty songs on there, but then there's a couple of good songs.
I think 11 shitty songs.
All right. This is not an Elder episode. I got ribs in the smoker. Come on, let's go.
Even the liner notes the liner notes suck on that album. It's so bad. That's how bad it is.
Oh, my goodness.
Jesus. All right. So my last pick is House of Lords.
Oh, yes.
Remember that from 1988. Obviously, it's a Greg Jegar. Oh, look at that! There you go.
Yeah,
cool, man. There you go. That's an album too that for me, it's a Simmons produced record. Greg Giuffria was the main guy in that band. The lead singer was James Christian. That to me felt a little more like Whitesnake, that album did, than some of the other stuff that was coming out at that time. The Jeff Scott Soto he did some backing vocals on a couple of songs on that album. And that's the connection. Whenever you made that earlier, Sonny, you were talking about Jeff Scott Soto. I was like, we're going to talk about that later. Some of my favorite songs on there is I Want to Be Loved, which I think is a great song. And then Hearts of the World's a cool song too. So, but that album is, it's filled with synthesizers and that kind of stuff because it was a, Giuffria kind of thing. But that dude seemed to be all right. I mean, he'd get in a band and he just, he had Angel, who was in that band. They did pretty good. Then Giuffria did pretty good, and House of Lords did okay. But again, one of those guys that never really got there, but really good artist. And I like that album. And that peaked at number 78, believe it or not. I really didn't believe it got that far, but it did. So, yep.
The next album, which is Sahara, is one of my top 10 albums of all time.
Oh, wow.
That album's outstanding.
I think I got that one. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
I saw House of Lords on tour with Cheap Trick and Joan Jett in December of '88. I was home on leave, and I
seen that. I actually seen
the girl I was dating at the time took me to that concert when I came home on leave.
You're right. That was the.
I'm right.
No, this came up on a previous show that we were talking about. Cheap Trick and Joan Jett, and I could not remember the opening band.
House of Lords was the opening act.
That's what it was, because I've seen him. He had real long ass hair. I mean, the dude had hair down to
his ass.
Yeah, about his ass. Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
That's why they call it long ass hair.
Yeah.
Not
all right. You ready for my last one?
No, but tell us anyway.
I cheated. All right, I cheated. So. This album was actually made in 1979, but I did not buy it till 1980. So that's going to be the same. And it's a kick-ass album, so fuck you all. So anyway, because I was like, this was actually the second record that I thought of. I'm like going, oh fuck, it was 79. Well, you know what? I didn't get it till 80, so I'm gonna. And then you know what? It's so good. I've actually got 3 copies of this.
Oh, that is not a good album, dude.
Pull it back far enough we can see it.
This is okay.
Back further.
There you go.
There you go.
New England.
Oh, those guys.
Oh, see the information. I love this album. When I was in high school, dude, I thought this album was kick-ass.
I'll give you a third one.
It was produced by Paul Stanley, of course.
Yeah.
But no, I like it's heavy synthesizer. But I tell you what, that
hold
don't
on a
ever
second.
pollute you.
We're gonna hit record, people.
Yeah. Can we get a little bit more? Oh, again. I watched that today. I was like going, you know what, Google this. What, a Coke? I can't hear you. A Coke. You know what we're talking about, Sonny?
Yeah.
The Paul Stanleys. Yeah, that video. I watched it again. We were talking about it last week, and I watched it the other day, and I've been still laughing about this shit. Anyway, New England. I love this album. Like I said, I've worn it out. I don't know how many times. Even got a CD of it. There is actually a recent live video of them on YouTube. If you go on there, and they were doing some of these old tunes, and they sound good. Hirsch Gardner was a drummer. He had the big kind of almost Eric Carr hair. He's been in a couple other bands. Don't try to quote me. I don't remember who they were now, but he's done quite a bit of stuff. John Fannin, like I said, I just love that group. It was one of those ones that it clicked with me in high school. I just liked it. All my friends like, that fucking album, just take that shit off. We don't same kind of thing I got with you guys.
But say all your friends, including these two monkeys.
Yeah. But no, it was one of the ones. I mean, that was a record that I listened to probably as much as I did any of my Kiss albums when I was senior, junior, high school. So anyway.
Do you want a third one? I mean, are the other ones just grooved, just worn out? Because I got a third one.
I actually have a third one. I just couldn't find it.
You want a fourth one?
Sure. You got to give them away.
Bill, you didn't sell this one? You kept this one? You sold all the other stuff?
I bought it. No, Sonny. I bought it because that dude told me it was great and I need to buy it. It's awesome. So I'm in this store and I pull it out like, oh my gosh, I found this album. And it was produced by Paul Stanley. And I'm telling my son about it. And he's like, that's going to be cool. I put it on. I'm like, the first song, I'm like, this is freaking garbage.
It's different. It is different.
It's like, so I skipped to the second. Okay. I was like, okay,
is three needle Spotify?
Three needle moves across.
It's on Spotify, yes.
Not app. Like over. The only thing going for it is got Paul Stanley's name on the back of it. Otherwise.
All right. Anyway, it was one of my favorites. Just, shoot me if I'm wrong. We all have our opinions.
I know where you live.
I know. All right. I was going to say the Elder, but, I knew that was going to be that was.
Well, it was funny because I was going to bring up the Elder. Well, that'd be like shooting fish in a barrel.
All right, go, Alan.
All right, my final pick for an underrated album is 1986. Judas Priest released the Turbo album, and
I like that album.
A lot of my friends, people my age, I'm younger than you yahoos, but they were immediately turned off by the guitars or the synth guitar or whatever it's called,
including me.
Yeah,
I was not a fan of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong. I get it. But
I'm just gonna go take my New England album and go fucking listen to that shit.
Yeah. So we can all polish our own turds here, But no, seriously, there were a lot of good songs on this album, and 4 or 5 songs ended up on the Priest Live album.
Well, and then actually MTV ran.
It's a good album.
And
I like that album.
Yeah. And that album probably got more younger fans because of their MTV play with those songs.
Right, and they intentionally changed their songwriting style, and they changed the way they look because they were trying to hit that market.
Exactly.
That's how they got me.
So while it hit
was it
that
really? Is that
market,
where you came in?
It did turn off a lot of their older fans.
Yeah, I didn't know Priest at all. I'm watching Heaven's on Fire. Next video that comes up is Turbo, and I'm like, oh, these guys are cool too. That's my first Priest. I love that album.
I was old school Priest, and it kind of was, I don't know. It's the same way with ZZ Top. I was a huge ZZ Top fan from the back in the
never
the early days, and then as soon as Legs and that shit, I'm done. You fuckers just lost me. I'm done with that shit.
So for those of you who don't know what it means, it means they use electronic drums. They program their drums.
Exactly.
It wasn't a machine gun?
No.
That album had Parental Guidance on it, which is they didn't do that song. I think when we saw them in Evansville, and I was really miffed about that because
they wouldn't have played that anyway. I think they gave up on that.
Well, I think that song probably only lasted for the Turbo tour.
Right.
big song though. I like that song.
Yeah,
I agree.
I like that song too.
So, folks, there you have it.
There you go.
20 underrated 80s albums, as mentioned by Bill, Dennis, Alan, and our new friend, Sonny Pooni.
Yeah, 19 plus a 1979 album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't even count. So I'm not even, I shouldn't even get, I'll tell you what, if I have to throw another one in there, Queensryche's Warning.
There you go.
There we go.
No, you don't get 5. You don't get 6.
No, but mine didn't count. It was 1979, so I broke the rule.
You mentioned that piece of crap. You got to stick with it.
Okay, I love it.
You got to own it. You got to own it, dude. Just own it and live with it and move on.
I'll be turning that son of a bitch here in a little bit. I'll be spinning it.
That's awesome. I just enjoy that. Just enjoy the shit out of that, will you?
All right, Sonny, awesome. Do you have anything to say before we call it a night?
No, just want to thank you guys. Fun time. I had a fun time kind of revisiting the 80s and listening to some albums I haven't listened to in a while. And it was great to talk to you guys, and I appreciate you having me.
Oh, well, we appreciate you coming on the show, being the first Ages of Rock listener to donate to the Rockin' Podcast cause. I think that's really cool how they're doing the GoFundMe, and they're finding an alternate way to put an event together.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. Yeah.
I don't know if Chris...
Speaking as somebody who used to put events together, financing that shit yourself is for the birds.
And I don't know if Chris said that they would do that to you, but since you paid through us, and you're going to get a T-shirt, so we'll send that to you at some point.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Well, you'll probably get every podcast. You'll probably end up with like 5 of these. You're in California going, Nashville Expo, what the hell?
He gets around. Sonny gets around.
Yeah, that's me.
Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you being on the show. It's been cool.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, folks, visit us on agesofrock.com. Check us out on Stitcher Radio, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Till next week, peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.